everyone. This is Jeffrey Tefertiller back with another Service Management Leadership podcast. I'm excited all the time, but I'm really excited to have Jamie Holcombe, CIO of USPTO, U.S. Patent and Trade Office, with us today. Jamie, how are you?
Doing great today. How about yourself?
I'm awesome. I enjoy speaking to, especially these topics we have, because you and I have talked off air, and I have a little bit of a history with USPTO. There's a lot of great people, a lot of really smart people, and I don't think the world really knows very much about the USPTO. It's a high-tech company or organization, government agency. It's not really a company. Government agency. It's high-tech. What are some of the things that you and your team have worked on recently or accomplished?
Well, amazingly, everyone's preoccupied with responding to COVID. I'm happy to report that the USPTO has not missed a beat in any of our awarding of patents or registering of trademarks. That's our mission. People didn't realize, or maybe they did, but we had a large telework force before COVID-19. So all of our 13,000 employees were able to go to telework almost overnight. Yeah, there were a couple of glitches here and there, but what we did was we enabled everyone to get on the network and do their work just like they were doing before. So one of the most surprising things about these last 4 or 5 months is the fact that our productivity has actually increased year over year. And when we looked into it to do the analysis and so forth, we realized that nobody's going anywhere, so nobody's taking any vacation. So that's why the numbers, when you compare them, are better. But at the same time, we're encouraging people to maybe take a staycation so that they can at least take a respite from the isolation. We're trying to enforce people to go out and get some sunshine, get some exercise. But as far as what was really surprising is the fact that we still supply patents and trademarks to keep the engine of our economy moving forward.
And we think about this, right? Everybody, think about all the, I'm saying this to our listeners and viewers, all the patents, like we're talking about all the pharmaceuticals, all the testing, all of that stuff that, when you see on the news, oh, we rushed it through, we have this new process. The USPTO had to enable that, right?
Oh, that's exactly right. I mean, since the beginning, the birth of our nation, the first patent was signed by George Washington, and being an agricultural society at the time, it was for potash, an agricultural product, which is great. Oh, yeah. We just surpassed in the year of 2018 the 10 millionth patent. That's what separates us from the rest of the world, our ideas and how we capitalize on those ideas and make businesses from them. So we're really doing well. In this year alone, we're going to have over 650,000 patent applications. Last month, we had more trademark applications than we've ever had before in the history of the USPTO. Wow. So we are really doing well. There's a lot of activity, and I'm glad to see that.
Oh, yes. And I think of, so here, I'm going to run you down 2 rabbit trails, if I may. So every small technology company that we see that grows bigger and then sells, it sells because of its intellectual property, which is a lot of times patents, things of that nature, right?
That's right.
They don't want the Tefertillers of the world, they want what I produce and what I can pass on. The other thing is, think about it for the viewers and the listeners. When a patent application comes through, we don't have humans that go, I think this looks like this over here in the stack of volumes. You have all this technology that converges to help you with this, right?
Oh, for sure, yes. There's so many things going on with the technology realm. As an example, and as it pertains to the COVID crisis, within 10 days of saying, hey, we got to do mandatory telework, we realized that we had to help the economy. And one of the things that we did was produce a program called Partnership for Patents. And if you go to USPTO.gov and you get on the page and you see Partnerships for Patents, what you can do is find COVID-related patents that need to be businessized. In other words, it's the intellectual property owner looking for someone to help them create a business around that idea. And we're trying to promote that to make sure that we have quick and fast solutions to this problem, this crisis. But America has always been like that as far as small businesses. All of our large, great businesses started very small and started with ideas that were better than the other guy. And that's why patents has been the engine of growth for our economy.
I think of the Henry Ford quote. He says, if I listened to my customers, they would have told me they wanted faster horses. And which always makes me chuckle, right? Because then it makes me, if I'm self-aware, right? I'm like, okay, what in my life am I looking at things through a faster horses type of mentality, right? I should be looking at, okay, how do we solve this? Plus the cycles of technology, which is the world you and I play in, the cycles have sped up. You know, you would have, I remember the 90s and the early 2000s when we would have planned obsolescence with Microsoft and Intel forcing companies to do it. That's gone. Now our drivers are artificial intelligence, machine learning, everything's spun up. So how is the USPTO incorporating these new technologies?
We are incorporating them by embracing them. In fact, there's always been that lag of doing great things or innovative and creative things within a government bureaucracy. So what we at the USPTO have tried to do is actually partner with our commercial leaders, those being Google and Accenture, on an artificial intelligence program, which we're doing for search. Patent search is a big deal. And what we have found is, even though I personally don't believe in artificial intelligence, I don't think that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be coming down from the sky and Skynet will control everything. But I do believe that the new machine learning algorithms are very advanced, and it allows us to create big data analytics such that we can glean information that we hadn't heretofore realized. So based on these algorithms, especially if a patent examiner then, or a trademark examiner, would look at the results, do the relative ranking, give a thumbs up or a thumbs down in a automated fashion such that that supervised learning can continue in a feedback loop, what we've done then is created a better search algorithm. Not only can we search on individual words, but we can search on concepts. The syntax of things can be changed such that you can actually include more and get quicker, faster on the focus. And that's really exciting. We believe so much of it that I've sent over a dozen of our best engineers to both the East Coast and the West Coast, and they've become googly. What that means is they were certified in the open algorithms, the open APIs in something called what we have in the artificial intelligence realm as TensorFlow. And TensorFlow provides the libraries of code that you can use for neural networks and feedback loops. So our guys are now certified in that, and we're creating different simulations and models such that we can do natural language processing. And it's very advanced, and at the same time, what we want is the ability to use it throughout the patent and trademark core. So we really believe in the supervised learning part of things, maybe not letting algorithms go and run on their own, but rather create them and hone them so they become even better and more precise as the years go by.
They will get better. And so people that don't think, and we had this on a previous guest with, even in the service management world with those chatbots, right? Those chatbots in ServiceNow or whatever tool you're using, you say, how do I, that knowledge management helps you solve it and you don't have to interact, it's cheaper, all that. And people's like, okay, I get that. But you type into a Google or Bing, whatever, I don't really care. And you say, how do I, you don't even have to finish that sentence and it gives you, hundreds of lists. That is artificial intelligence. That is machine learning, because people have searched this, and that the more times that comes up or the next word you add and the search gets a little more refined, that's all you're talking about is, how do I make that search capability easier for my customers? How do I make it a better search, more efficient? And then on the back end, how do you help customers in the, get the best product most efficiently? Is that right?
That's exactly right. And that's what we're doing. We're refining it over time so they get better and better, and we can get faster. There's something called pendency, which is the time between the application and the award or the rejection. And we want to be cutting that down such that we fuel the economy, because the quicker we can do it, the quicker the cash flow will occur on the venture capital side of things.
Yes, people don't realize that. Even like if you look at behind me and you see the little icon, all that stuff for the big companies is they care, and I even care what font it is, what color it is. They care about everything. And so, there's some big consulting firms, I won't mention who, that spend tens of millions of dollars on creating their new colors or fonts or whatever it is. So we mentioned COVID earlier and how the workforce. Have you identified other trends that how the USPTO is helping companies businessize, I made up a new word, businessize their new intellectual property, but is there other trends? Are there other trends that you've identified that you're trying to leverage and help out?
Well, we're trying to increase the speed and flow through the application process. So in doing that, we are making outreach a big deal for finding out how better to relate to our customers and the applicants on the outside. Now, it's not only the small entrepreneur, the inventor. We also are, there's also applicants from the IP community, those lawyers who know how best to protect individual property rights. And because of that, the IP community is another place that we do outreach, and we try to understand how to make this more efficient for everyone. That includes the corporations, the small businesses, and the inventor entrepreneur.
The funny one to me, and this is something that was not on my purview a few years ago, but the universities, every university, especially public, has so much IP that now they're hiring executives say, we need help marketing my IP. We have these professors that we pay to research. They find something, woohoo! Now, how do we market that and sell it? Because we're a state university, we need money, blah blah blah. Have you seen an increase in that as well?
Yeah, we've seen an increase in all types of applications, especially in the academic research and development areas. Where it pertains to artificial intelligence, there are a lot of doctoral students, graduate students, and so forth working in different universities using their facilities to delve into R&D specifically with AI. So it's been a big boon in that area. Now, there's also other areas, of course, as an example, biomedical devices. I mean, I think you've seen all the new things where you can actually train robotics through the use of your nerve endings. And every individual has every different nerve. And based on that training, all of a sudden, these people who didn't have limbs can now walk, and they can touch, and they can grab and feel. And it's all based on these new inventions and the ways the algorithms actually interoperate on a customized basis with the individual. So yeah, we've seen a lot of things like that come to fore, and we want to anticipate that more and more, because those things really do change the way the world operates.
And it's amazing, isn't it? Can you imagine explaining that to your parents and grandparents? My parents have passed on, but I couldn't even explain to them that we're having this video call 1,000 miles away, or, you could be 10,000 miles away and it wouldn't matter. The technology cycles are spinning fast, and it's amazing to me. So let's talk IT organization stuff. Companies and government agency, all types of IT organizations are moving from a project-based mentality, thought process, to a program-based, to how do we move to a product-based, how do we move along that continuum? I say from project because it's a time box thing, to a program, so it's bigger. Now we're talking a product, so we have, it's a different mentality. Have you seen that there at the USPTO?
Not only have I seen it, I'm the primary executive champion. I do have a commercial background as well. And one of the things that I'm trying to do in earnest is move the government bureaucracy from a project to a product-oriented management flow. And why is that important? Well, as you just stated, projects come and go. They start and stop. Products have a life cycle of their own. So they have a birth, they have an operations and maintenance, they have a death. And sometimes, yes, you do need to let things die, but there's a lot of things on the interim that need to be adapted to and enhanced. And so one of the big things that we do as far as custom software development is patents and trademarks. Very few other organizations have patents and trademarks as their core differentiator. Therefore, there is really no software package out there. Of course, there's document control and there's case management and there's search, but putting it all together in a workflow is fairly unique. So based on that, we're going to try to use all those tools that are out there. However, when you create something that's customized like that, and you don't allow it to have the free flow of other new commercial tools, you sort of get locked in. And it's a myopic point of view. So moving over to the products and having a loosely coupled architecture allows you to put things in and take things out at a moment's notice or with ease. So moving to products is a big deal because it's a different way to think about and to manage the actual development of software. In the product-oriented view, you have to have the business own the team. You don't have IT just give them another tool, or IT, here's your network, do what you want. What it is you work together as a product team and you have a backlog of business functionality that you want to get done. And you have to prioritize things like operations and maintenance over or under the new business functionality. Because, of course, one of the big things with IT is technical debt. As soon as you deploy something, you're going to be incurring technical debt. The longer that thing stays in operations and maintenance, the more times it has to be upgraded and maintained to ensure that it's not obsolete. Because if you keep doing business functionality, you'll find out within a couple of years, it no longer functions because it's on the old versions. Then you spend an enormous amount of time and money trying to bring it back up. And now you've lost all that time to the business functionality. So it is a balance and a trade-off, and that needs to be decided between the IT experts and the business owners, with the business owner making the final determination, because that's why we're there. IT is a mission support. It is not the mission. Our mission at USPTO is patents and trademarks. It's not IT. We have to use IT to our advantage to make sure it differentiates us from anybody else and use the best commercial tools that are available to help our customers better, cheaper, and faster.
So you mentioned three things. And so I started laughing because I get on that technical debt soapbox all the time, especially with organizations that amortize things for 5-10 years. And I'm like, oh, that thing's going to be way out of date. So I heard you say three things that I want to talk about. I would say important. There's a lot of important. Moving to a product base means that we have ownership, and it's not a kick it over the fence. Now it's your problem to support. And so that with that ownership, you're talking TCO, your total cost of ownership, for those that aren't familiar with that. I know you are, but I meant anybody that's listening. And also we're talking about making sure that IT, so I use this illustration and it's kind of goofy, but the old one of IT in a silo saying, Mr. Business, Mrs. Business Person, here it is in blue. And they say, I want it in green. They go, okay, here it is in blue. And that doesn't, we have to get away from that. And the third thing that I heard you say, even if it was subtle, and this is another soapbox of mine, is IT supports the business. The business pays our paycheck in IT. It's our job to go, what is it you want? How can I make those outcomes? How can I help you get there? Let's walk down that little path together, and we will have metrics to see how far we've come, how fast we're going. If things change, fine. Your priorities change. Every business changed over COVID. I'm sure there's a lot of left and right hand turns during this COVID stuff for all organizations. But how do we stay in step with that business partner instead of doing it to them? We're doing it with them. Did I summarize that okay?
Oh, you summarized it very well. And I'll tell you, it takes two things to do it with them and not to them. And those two things are collaboration, true teamwork, and number two is transparency. The whole thing is you can't expect your business owners to understand the highly technical aspects of a TensorFlow algorithm that has a neural network feedback loop with 2 orders of magnitude below, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't matter. What you can say to them is, yes, we should do this over that because the security vulnerability is too high. We need to remediate that in our next release, which should be in less than 2 weeks.
Right.
The thing about government bureaucracy, we still haven't got to the commercial end of things where every night a new release is put on your cell phone. We need to adopt those principles and get that moving. We seem to be about a decade behind in the government. And what we want to do is at least catch up to maybe 18 or 24 months later. That would be okay, because then I don't want to be bleeding edge. I don't want to have my nose bloodied, but I do want to be leading edge. So I'll be leading edge and a fast follower. I'll do things that have been proven to work. And that's the attitude we're taking on a consultative basis between the technical leaders and the business owners. They have to be together. And if you don't have a good relationship or a good rapport there, you're not going to have a good product team. And that's the product team needs to develop just like any other team. There's the forming, norming, and storming, norming, and forming, right? And all of the things that are associated with people, the cultural aspects of things. And I got to tell you, one of the things that COVID will bring about is an entire shift of our culture. We have to address fear straight on. I believe that most people are deciding right now based on a level of fear because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how bad this virus is. We've been reported to. There's all these different statistics coming. Who do you believe? What do you say? How do you do? And most of us are just trying to be good about ensuring that we do our part to be a good citizen and just get ahead and just get along. So we have to tackle fear on with facts. And that's another thing that inventions and entrepreneurs can do. They can supply things with facts. They can provide filters that, this guy has an opinion, that guy, but what are the facts? And that's what I like to do is fact-based decisions.
And even in the IT world, so there are 3 other things. You and I just keep going and going, and this is awesome. And so the other thing is listening, spending time with those relationships don't happen overnight. We have to listen and really understand. The other is not get caught up in this technical jargon. Our business customers, they care about the value they're getting for their money. They care about the outcomes you're producing. And the other piece that whether it's a restaurant or your IT department, everybody wants to spend money with people they like. They want to spend time with people they like. and so that also colors our view of different departments. And, you don't want to be colored with that brush too frequently. So we talked about product. That's a subtle way of opening the agile door, right?
Of course.
And so what does agile mean to you personally and the USPTO?
So in the development of the product teams, we have just put the nail in the coffin on the waterfall methodology. And the main reason why is not because it didn't work, it's just that it takes too long. And if we were in the 1960s, it would be fine because people had the expectation of large NASA-like projects, human achievements like unbelievable. However, it's changed. People have an expectation, of course, that needs to be there. Of course, you need to have this backed up and resilient. That is table stakes now. And so when I say that people expect their software to be there the next day, it's true because it happens on our phones overnight. When we put them on the bedstand in the morning, we're greeted to new applications. That's the same way it should be. That's the expectation. And so unless you're agile, you're never going to be able to do that because the waterfall way is too slow. All right, so we moved on now to this agile way. Well, that doesn't mean that everything is free form. Oh, it doesn't matter. We just do it. No, in fact, agile takes a lot more discipline than waterfall. Why? Because you can't go back to the original. You have to stay and do what needs to be done and get results. The greatest thing I like about the agile way, and we're using DevSecOps as our agile process forward, is the fact that at the end of 2 weeks, at the end of a sprint, you can measure your success or not. Now, one of the big things in doing that type of work is the fact that if you fail, are you going to be shot and killed? If you have that attitude, you'll never get ahead. You have to expect some failure. You just don't expect the same failure. So there's a difference between some and same, right? So I like some failure because you can always learn from that and do better the next time. I dislike same failure. That means you didn't learn from it the first time. So of course, there's a lot of this new fail fast, fail forward. And that's what we need to do. So I've been doing things, not just Agile DevSecOps, but also influencing a 30, 60, 90 day mindset. If you can't do it in 90 days, don't do it. But what you do in 90 days can be small enough such that the next 90 you scale on, you build off of. It's that small win mentality in gaining momentum and moving forward. In that way, everybody sees and can actually say, okay, yeah, I can contribute that way. If you do fail, you don't have to go back to the beginning because you've had the successes, and that way you enhance your success and you eliminate your failure. Another big thing with government bureaucracy is a lack of the understanding in sunk cost. It's very well understood in the commercial world. I am not going to go throw good money after bad. However, in the government bureaucracy, it seems that if I don't spend the amount of funding I had, I won't get it next year. And it's exactly the opposite incentive that we should have. What we should have is the incentive to say, if I saved enough money, I can take whatever I didn't spend and invest it in things that make me even better, cheaper, and faster. Yeah. I just want to get back to that from a business value point of view in our methodology. Fail fast, fail forward, realize sunk cost. It doesn't matter what you've done before. If it's not working now, it's not good. Don't keep throwing good money after bad.
In sunk cost, I will tell you, we mentioned technical debt. Those two, to me, are Siamese twins in many organizations, especially in the commercial world. So in Agile, I have this thought, and I've seen it up close, so you can laugh with me. In February, We kick off a 6-month project, February 20. Now we're at 8/20. How much of the business needs, the business rules, the technology needs changed between this past February and today just because of COVID? There's been so many left-hand, right-hand turns. Oh, we're going back to work. No, we're not. We're doing this. No, we're not. Now we have to spend less. Now we have, you know what I'm saying? And the agile, most of the agilists, I don't know what that word is, the agile practitioners will talk about eating an elephant one bite at a time. But I also would say, we talked about the technology cycles spinning up faster. If you have a long project and you're halfway done and then this new technology comes in, you've lost a lot of time. So the whole thing is, how do we stay, and I don't want to use the word agile, but how do we stay nimble enough that we can react to new technology, new business needs, new even external forces? Is that some of the things that you think about and try to solve?
Yes. In fact, that is the job of a leader, to ensure that what you're doing now makes a difference and counts. So you can say, in effect, we adapt every quarter. That 30, 60, or 90, we provide a retrospective or a quarterly review to make sure that we're spending right. If we got the right metrics, check, check, check. And if we didn't, if we have to adapt or go different for our yearly end goals, right? Say we do have this new technology that comes out in a year. We are future proofing. And how do you do that? The thing that I keep saying amongst all my architects, you need to have loosely coupled systems. They need to stand on their own. They need to be resilient, and you need to have microservices to the point where if I deploy something today and 2 weeks from now something comes out that's better, I can rip out what I deployed today and put in the new one. You need to have that agility mindset when you're deploying applications. The be-all, end-all of enterprise resource planning and so forth is over from a service-oriented point of view. Now, if you have a factory, that may be different, right? There's nothing wrong with having a factory and putting all the efficient processes and systems together such that that operates at a very efficient mode. And you may decide that you will use that efficiency until it dies, until it goes away, and no more investment in that. And that's a fine decision to make. But normally in service-oriented architectures, you're always doing something new. So the only thing you can count on is that in 3 years, it's not going to be anything that you thought of.
And that gets into sunk cost and technical debt. And that's why I'm such a service management nerd, is because all you described, I heard it through the lens of a Rubik's Cube, right? Something comes out, you spin it, and now you have a blue square on a yellow 8 other squares. And you're like, how do I fix this? How do I, because there's so many new integrations with new technologies. And we see this as some people see this through a technology lens. I see this through a business lens. Now we have to make all of this into some type of outcome for our business customers, and that's what they're wanting. You know what I mean? It's a Rubik's Cube type of thought process. So the USPTO, like other government agencies, has a workforce that's a little tenured. Is that fair to say?
It is. In fact, one of the most unique or surprising things that I found out was the average tenure is about 22 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait a second. In the federal government, don't you retire after 20? And then I find out that they stay to like 35 and 40 years. And it's really great to see that competency and that confidence in knowing how to do things. Now I'm trying to get them the tools, the modern day tools, to make them even better. And so one of the biggest hurdles, of course, is trying to change that culture for accepting the change, creating different workflows, because it will require a little, not only training and understanding, but there's always that initial dip in productivity. And then there's the acceleration once you realize how best to use it. The patent search is a great example. Yes, you're going to have to learn it, but my gosh, once you get it done and figure out how, it can accelerate exponentially your ability to bring more focused and precise claims to fore.
So you have somebody that's a 20-year vet. They've been doing their job. Technology now is coming at them fast. I'm putting words in your mouth, sorry. The whole job as a leader is, how do I equip them to use this knowledge that they've built to produce these new outcomes that our business customers are throwing at them? How do we get from here to there with all of the variables changing on them? Did I put the right words in your mouth?
You sure did. One of the best ways to do it, though, is to bring them along the way, and don't assume that you have the right idea. Sure, Henry Ford was right when he said, I just do a faster horse. But at the same time, he's got to listen to them for the evolutionary things required in the car, right? So you have the revolutionary ideas and concepts, and you have the evolutionary ideas. And you really do need to apply the right resources and monies, investment, to either the evolutionary and that's small incremental steps, or the revolutionary where you're just saying, stop, start new. And so understanding that is very important. With the projects to products, it's sort of revolutionary. We're stopping what we did, we're mapping it over, and we're starting anew. That's revolutionary. Evolutionary, however, is probably the agile DevSecOps. What we're doing is we're improving on what currently exists. Now, will there be modern examples of development in the new paradigm? Sure, we're going to have revolutionary applications in the cloud. In fact, that's our modernization effort right now, is to figure out how to refactor our code so that we can actually use the public cloud resources that are available. And so that will be the next revolution at the USPTO.
And it's funny because 5-10 years ago, nope, we can't have people all work from home, no security. 5-10 years ago, hey, we can't put everything in the public cloud, not enough security. And now we're bridging those gaps. We're saying, how can we leverage technology to get from here to there? Because people that stay 20 years, A, love where they're at, usually. I don't want to broad stroke it. And B, they built this knowledge. They know where the bodies are buried, and they can help you, because in the service management world, we think people, process, technology. I think it's just people, because process and technology will not be successful without people buy-in, people having the right skills. It takes people to program the technology and execute your process.
And it's not just people. I am going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say it's Americans, right? Because if you tell an American they can't do something, they will do everything in their power to show you different and to prove that you're wrong. We have that rebellious spirit inside of our DNA. And I say that because it's, of course, not DNA. It's a theory, it's a thought, it's a philosophy. And if you realize when you spell out American, the last 4 letters are I can. It's not I can't. I hate people who say I can't because this or that or this. We figure out how we can. And that's the big thing. That's the big difference.
And it's, even if the answers you really mean no, it's like, how do we give different options? So I want to plug Jamie for just a second. Can you all tell that he's a West Point guy and was a U.S. Army? I like the raw. This is awesome. All right, 5 years from now, we've talked a little bit, where we've come, things are coming fast at us. 5 years from now, you pull out your crystal ball. What are the new business problems that the USPTO is trying to solve? What are the capabilities? What's that look like to you?
So there's a great lens to look through, and that's this whole thing about telework. I don't think we will ever go back to the way it was. So this big catalyst change means that people may not have to come to the city centers in order to work together. We are going to figure out new ways to work together. I don't think anything can replace the face-to-face, the handshake, the regular getting together, but those may be fewer times. Maybe we have an ability on Monday and Friday to work at home, and then maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to get together. But we might not get together in the city center. We might get together in the regional center. Or who knows? There's so many things that could happen with whiteboard technologies over the internet, with the ability, even with who knows on the highly technical and science fiction, we might have holographs one day become a reality. But you never know. It could happen. So instead of sitting and watching a wall where the screen is, maybe everybody sits in a round circle and we watch the holograph image in the middle of our living room. And if we can do that, can you imagine having conference calls back and forth? So those are some of the science fiction parts, but we'll never get beyond the business. In other words, better, cheaper, and faster will always be part of our metrics and understanding. So hopefully we'll be able to take that pendency, the time between application and award or rejection, and collapse that to the point where we provide much more speed to the economy and much more flow in venture capital dollars. We need to make sure that we're doing that. We need to keep that top of mind no matter where we are in the future.
And I'm with you. I tried to interrupt you a few times because I was like, I'm ugly enough. Nobody wants to see my hologram all around. You know, they'd be like, no mas. So we've talked a lot about technology, and we'll wrap it up with this question. So 5 years from now, we talked a little bit about the people aspect, and we've talked about artificial intelligence, machine learning. How is that 5 years from now going to look different than today in terms of creating those business outcomes?
Right now, I think there's a large reluctance to use artificial intelligence and glean the results because they're very skeptical. I think in 5 years from now, it will just be commonplace. And because of that, we'll be expecting our machines to do a lot more for us and support us. I do believe RPA, the robotic process automation, and that code supplies us a view into the future, such that in 5 years, all these rote, manual, administrative, and clerical duties will be overtaken or subsumed by RPA. Because if you don't do it, you're not being efficient. It would be incompetent for a CIO not to automate all these different processes. Once all that's done, once all that's automated over the course of 5 years, the release of human capital and analytics, who knows what can develop from there? My challenge to many of our workers is, if you have a checklist of 10 items, figure out the 4 that can be automated such that you have more time to think about better, cheaper, and faster. I want you to eliminate at least 40% of your tasks and turn it over to a machine. And the more you do that, the better and more efficient we will be.
So people have clung on to that saying, no, I don't want to be replaced. But really, like we had our last guest, Stephanie Warren, talked about this in the service management world. If it's a rote task and you do it 3 times in a row, let's automate it. Let's figure out how to automate it. Let's figure out how to get through the bureaucracy of putting in tickets and all this other stuff. Let's figure out how to make it as seamless to possible, because at the end of the day, our business customers have to enjoy dealing with IT. They can't go, oh, that's just another stone wall. Oh no, I don't want to deal with those people. Not again. I mean, we can't have, and it's there I won't say everywhere, a lot of places. I mean, let's be honest, that they're like, oh, I'll just fix it myself, or I'll just live with it. And things are moving fast, and IT's got to keep up, especially in terms of the people aspect. My soapbox, sorry. Jamie, you've been great. You could tell, hopefully everybody could tell, I've enjoyed this conversation. Any parting words?
I just wanted to say thank you very much for this invitation to speak with your audience. I think it's great. We need to do more outreach. Like you said, it's always this collaboration and conversation. The more we communicate, the more we will understand each other, and the better results will be attained.
Oh, yes, sir. So I thank you for your time. Hopefully, maybe after the first of the year, you'll come back and tell us about all the progress. Maybe by then we'll be out of COVID's shadow, and we'll be able to move forward as a country and as a IT and all that fun stuff. So
yeah, I can't promise the holographic view, but we'll shoot for it.
you don't want me. My wife wouldn't even want me in the holographic. So everyone, have a great day, and thank you, Jamie. And we'll be right back with Jeffrey's closing thoughts. Hello, this is Jeffrey. Thank you for coming back for closing thoughts. It was a great conversation with Jamie. Appreciate his time, and it was great to hear all the awesome things that he and his teams at USPTO, what they're working on, how they are facilitating new outcomes for Americans through the Patent and Trade Office. I wanted to close with two things, really three. The first is empathy for your employees, empathy for your business customers. You could hear it through, woven through the conversation as he was talking about collaboration, talking about helping his employees upskill. Great. Empathy is what we need in this time where it is difficult for many. But there were two main things I wanted to elaborate on. Number one is, and I think Jamie's exactly right, not that he needed my affirmation on that, but he is exactly right that the business customer, whether, he referenced agile, but the business it could be any methodology. The business customer needs IT to be there with them. The business customer needs to own the outcomes, and IT is the facilitator of those outcomes. And the business person needs to know that IT wants to help them in the way that it's needed. No more silos, no more here's what you get, like it's green beans when you're a kid, and you get force fed that so many times that now it's unpalatable as an adult. We harbor those scars, myself included. Second of all, technology's changing. Technology is changing for these business outcomes at a rapid pace. And so service management organizations, IT organizations in a broader context need to understand this, need to use that new technology to create new outcomes for the business. The technical debt, the sunk cost, those are barriers. Those are obstacles for us to move forward. And so there has to be an overarching plan. Everybody wants to talk about digital transformation, but nobody wants to talk about technical debt or sunk costs, even though those are what's inhibiting your transformations. And so we at Service Management Leadership can help you and your organization in both of these ways: alignment with the business, as well as getting through the technical debt, the sunk costs, and ensuring that as new technology emerges, which it will, and it seems like almost daily, that your organization will be able to respond, able to nimbly maneuver and create even better outcomes. So this is Jeffrey Tefertiller. We thank you for joining us on this podcast, and Jamie for his time. We ask that wherever you found this podcast, that you'll look around at our other ones, leave feedback, hopefully positive, and always feel free to message me on LinkedIn or send me an email. I would be happy to entertain most conversations, most. So have a great day, and thank you once again.